暇だから相手しなさい。サタニキア様が来てあげたわよ。おいクソ悪魔、私は今機嫌が悪いんだ。舐めた真似してるとその脳天勝ち割るぞ。私は出かけるから戻るまでにドア直しとけよ。
The highly anticipated Nian banner has arrived. I'm pretty sure many of you have been saving for her, and some of you may be a bit undecided if you should try to pick her up or not. Hopefully, I can help you decide if you want to try roll for her on the banner. But before we talk about the new operators in the banner, I would like to mention some information about limited time banners and operators in Arknights. So please pause and read the information I'm about to show you. Now that we have clarified the rules of a limited time banner, let's see what new operators we have on the way. In this banner we have Nian, Ak, or in Japanese, A, and Hung. Nian will be the limited time operator, while Ak and Hung are permanent. So let's take a look at Nian first. Nian is our first limited 6-star defender who has a lot of utility, while also dealing a good chunk of arts damage. She is ideal for being your frontline defender like you would with Hoshi. Starting with her talents, Nian can give all defender operators up to 16% max HP. This will make life much easier when dealing with hard-hitting enemies or stages where you need survivability. But what else can deal with hard-hitting enemies? Her Omniscience talent. This talent is really good when dealing with enemies that will typically one-shot your average operators, like low HP Avengers, which really helps with stalling tactics. For her skills, Scorching Tin and Copper Seal are arts damaging skills while also giving defense. This is especially good because of Nian's above average attack for being a defender. Copper Seal is a more defensive talent compared to her S1, but in some way can be more devastating due to the +1 block count and arts damage reflection she can apply to the enemy. Her S2 also applies silence to enemies which stops them from using abilities. Her S3 Iron Guard will most likely be the skill you will use the most on Nian due to the buffs it gives. Not only does it give herself a big attack buff, but also gives allies great defensive buffs. Yes, that does include the +1 block count, which in my opinion makes this skill really strong. Iron Guard also gives resistance to stun, chill and freeze, which really helps you avoid annoying CC. Alright, moving on, let's take a look at Ak. Ak is our first 6-star specialist with quite unique skills that shares similarities to Warfarin, but a more intense version. He's quite situational though, so I wouldn't recommend you bring him everywhere, due to how lethal he can be to your own operators if you don't have the correct setup. With his talents, Drug Cocktail synergizes really well, due to his trait making him lose HP over time. What makes this talent really shine though is the chance to stun and stop the target enemy. CC is always your friend. Onto his skills, I will only mention his S2 and S3, since his S1 is quite self-explanatory. Ak will attack the nearest ally operator with 500 attack power, 15 times, to grant Ak and the target a defense and max HP buff. You wouldn't really use this much, due to there being more versatile operators with defense buffs, but if you truly need a big defense buff to deal with hard-hitting enemies then this skill can be used. Just make sure your operator can bounce back and heal up, after Ak has dealt damage to the target operator. Just like his S2, his S3 also deals the same amount of damage 15 times, but this time granting a big attack and attack speed buff to the target and himself. This is the skill that makes Ak shine, since you can give this buff to your DPS operator, and just completely wipe out the enemy for that duration. You will usually see this be used on those videos of operators completely destroying bosses. You need to be especially careful using this skill, due to your DPS usually not having the highest HP and defense. These skills can be tricky to use due to him dealing damage to the target ally operator, so it's mandatory to have the correct setup when using him. For example, Nian or Shining is a good pair with Ak since they give defense buffs to allies. Now finally, let's take a look at Hung. Hung is a new addition to our healing defenders. He is similar to how Neural would operate, but his main gimmick is being hit to charge SP, which can be a major downside on some stages. Hung's talent increases his defense, which is usually not common for healing defenders, so it synergizes really well with his on-hit SP charge. It will also dish out additional healing effectiveness to self, if there is a high tile behind him. It's a really weird talent which puts more limits on Hung's already limited kit, so I'm not the biggest fan. Hung's S1 gives additional attack power, and heals an ally, pretty basic for a healing defender. Unfortunately, there are no charges with this skill. This also means that Hung needs to be hit to actually heal anything at all, so that's a massive limit. Much like Hung's S1, his S2 also needs to be hit to gain SP. This skill is similar to Neural's S2, but Hung gains an additional defense buff, which is nice to see on a healing defender. The main problem I see with Hung is the limitations on his talent and being an on-hit SP charge defender. This means it's 100% mandatory for Hung to be frontline and potentially behind a high tile. If he is not frontline, he won't be healing at all due to not being able to get any SP charge. But other than that, Hung can take damage much better than most healing defenders because of the defense buff he can apply to himself, which makes himself very strong when you can take advantage of his gimmick on certain stages. Now then, is this banner worth rolling? The 3 operators on this banner are really strong in their given positions, especially Nian and Ark. Nian is arguably one of the best frontline defenders in the game alongside Hoshi, and Ark is just a monster when it comes to buffing allies. So in conclusion, yes, this banner is worth rolling on. Nian gives a lot of utility which defender operators cannot do. She is also a limited time operator, so she holds some value. The only reason to pass on Nian in my opinion is if you already have strong defenders like Hoshi, or you're saving for someone else you desire. But don't worry too much, if you miss Nian, you can definitely live without her. If you manage to roll Ark, then don't worry, because he is also really strong operator due to the heavy buffs he can give. Alright, I think that covers everything. I hope this video helped you decide if you want to roll on this banner. Good luck and thanks for watching.